Hi and welcome to this video brought to you by Ollie's Skate Shop. Today we're going to talk about the difference between adjustable and non-adjustable skate trucks. It's important to know whether you have adjustable trucks or not, because if you do and you don't adjust them properly, you could end up damaging the trucks or the plates themselves. So the skates to the left with the green wheels have got non-adjustable trucks with a standard Playmaker skate plate underneath. The skates on the right have got new Avenger plates with adjustable trucks, and I'm going to show you how to spot the difference. So here I've taken apart the skates that were on the left, and you can see here that this bit called the kingpin, which sits into the plate, is just a solid piece of metal. There's no bolts or screws or anything attached to it. It's just a solid pin, and you can see that there's a cup that this fits into in the plate just here, and that allows it to pivot and move around as you bend and go around corners. Now this truck is off the Avenger plate. Now this is adjustable. The rest of it looks the same, but you can see on the pin itself there is a bolt attached to it, and between the pin and the white part of the truck there is also a locking nut which will keep the pin in place. They are two different size nuts, but on a single spanner here you get the two sizes. One allows you to undo the locking nut itself so that frees up. You've got to make sure that that's free enough so that the pin can move independently by itself, and the other side will allow you to move the pin. But before we get into that too much, I'm going to explain a little bit about why these pins are adjustable. So you might find adjustable trucks on various different plates, but we're going to look at the Avenger magnesium plate as shown here. Using the front truck as an example, the pin on the truck goes into the plate into a pivot cup shown here, which it allows it to pivot as you go around corners. If your pins are adjustable, it's the length of the pin that goes into the pivot cup that changes. And as you can see here, if it's too short, there'll be too much space, the truck will move about, and you can risk damaging the pin and the plate itself. So we need to adjust the length of this pin so that it matches the depth of the cup, but not so much that it's pressing hard against the inside of the cup. Because if it is too long, there'll be too much pressure on the inside, and again you risk damaging the pin and the plate itself. So when we adjust them, we're going to start in this fully retracted position and slowly increase it until it matches the length of the cup, so that we know it's the right length, not too short, not too long. So down to business. Assuming you've got your cushions in place and the pin in the fully retracted position, go ahead and put the truck in place. Make sure that it lines up perfectly, but you'll notice that there's lots of movement from the pin inside this cup. That's what we're aiming to eliminate today. So holding the truck in place, get your other cushion and get that in place, and get your trucks tightened up to the amount that you like to skate on first of all. This is important because it will affect the length of the pin very slightly, so get it to the tightness that you like to ride on before you do anything else. Just a quick tip here, always count the number of threads left on the bolt so that you can get back to roughly the same amount of tightness, so that you're not just experimenting to get it back how you like it. So before we begin moving the pin, just make sure that this locking nut is still loose and moving freely, and then you can start to move the pin itself. You'll move it in an anti-clockwise motion to lengthen the pin, and so because it started in the fully retracted position, you can do a few turns here knowing that it's just moving gradually in. If you start to feel some resistance, just check the truck again. If you still get some movement, then obviously we're going to keep turning the pin. The pins on these trucks have a particularly short, fully retracted position, so there'll be a few more turns before we start to encounter resistance. So I'm just going to give this another few turns, and then I'm going to check it again. So after another couple of turns, I'm going to check, see what movement we have. You can just see there's a little bit of movement left in here, so it needs just that little bit more. So now we'll reduce to half turns or one turn each time, and then check it again. And there's still a tiny amount of movement in here, so it's not quite at the end, but I like to get this perfect, so maybe another half turn, and then we'll check it again. And then that movement seems to have stopped altogether, so we've hit bottom, we're at the end of the cup. So now I'm going to gradually move the locking nut into place, and once we tighten that locking nut against the truck, the pin will be held in its lengthened position against the edge of the inside of the pivot cup, and the truck is perfectly adjusted and ready to skate. You can see now that there's a little bit of gap between the locking nut and the nut on the pin, which just shows that there's some adjustment there. So a good time to adjust these pins would be any time you've changed the cushions in the trucks, or any time you significantly change the tension of the trucks, say if you're changing the way that you like to skate, or just over time with regular skating, the cushions will get a little bit softer after several months or so, so you might want to adjust the pins at regular intervals just to make sure that they are long enough that they don't get damaged and not too long that they damage the inside of the pivot cup. I hope this was helpful for you, and thanks for watching.